appreciate everybody coming out. I want to thank our 6th District Councilman, Chico Hinojosa. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you everybody for coming today. I'd just like to brush up on a couple of things. I didn't really plan anything as far as what I'm going to say. Any questions that you want to ask, we'll see what we can do. But I'd like to talk about a little bit about what happened a couple of weeks ago, where there was a couple of people that were robbed over the weekend. Friday there was an incident, and then Saturday was an incident. I found out about it on Saturday. In fact, I talked to one of my members from the Hammond Moose that I belong to, and it's her daughter's friend that lives across the street was the one that got hit in the jaw, and they had a flyer to was it South Bend. I seen the girl a couple days ago, and I did find out from my friends that this girl, I guess, had to have her operation on her jaw, and they're going to wire shut her jaw for 4 weeks. So if you can put her in your prayers that everything comes out okay for her. I know she was pretty nervous going into the hospital. And I did talk to a neighbor of the incident that happened on the 6800 block of Nebraska, where there was somebody there that got robbed the same way, except this was an elderly lady, and I heard she had a heart attack. I haven't gone back to see if she's out of the hospital, and if you can include her in your prayers also, sure would appreciate it. Otherwise than that, we'll be here to answer any questions that you have, and I will stick around afterwards to answer any more questions, anything privately about crime in the neighborhood, anything. I'm available. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, we've been doing Mayor's Night Out now for 9.5 years. I think you guys probably figured out by now how it works, so let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to introduce Michelle Turchaney, Special Events Coordinator. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, good evening.
Michelle, we're on the radio every Friday morning. We do a City of Hammond show. It's a lot like Mayor's Night, except for it's every week. A lot of times people ask me how they can get announcements into the radio show. Could you go ahead and explain that to them, how that works?
You can call me at the Civic Center at 853-6378. Also, my email address, you can email it turchaney@gohammond.com.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Let's go ahead and pass the microphone around. These are all the department heads. Let's go ahead and start with Pat. Hey, Pat.
Hi, Pat Moore, Park Department.
Awana Miller, Community Development.
Leanne Munoz, College Bound.
Kelly Green, Code Enforcement.
Johnny Perez, Sanitation.
Gary Gleason, Street Department.
Scott Mitchell, Sanitary District, Sewer Department.
Marty Woga, Sanitary District.
Phil Talon, Planning and Development.
Brian Poland, City Planning.
Ron Novak, Environmental Management.
Mark McLaughlin, Chief of Staff.
Stan Stotney, City Engineer.
Bob Lindy, City Controller.
Carmen Paniagua, Human Housing. Chris Cantor, Law Department.
Kurt Cook, Building.
Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Sharon Jenkins, Personnel.
Rick Zing, Port Authority.
Chris Campbell, Information Technology.
Steve Fowler, Recycling.
Ed Crusoe, Hammond Water.
African Economic Development.
Chris Sacaleras, Legal Aid.
Alexius Barber, Family and Cuisine.
Michelle Turchaney, Hammond Parks.
Okay, there you go. This whole, to remind you, Mayor's Night Out is driven by written questions. We have Courtney in the back, Courtney, Megan, and Gabby in the back table there. They have a written question form. If you have a question, please go back there and fill it out. If you want to remain anonymous, that's fine. You don't have to put your name and address, but the reason we ask for your name and address is so that we can follow it up with you afterwards. If it's like a trash pickup or something like that, then we have the address right there. Or if it's a complaint, we can follow it up with a letter that says, hey, we think we took care of this. And so it's done by written questions. If we're talking about a topic, let's say it's code enforcement. If you have a question about code enforcement, just raise your hand. Michelle will come around to you with the microphone. However, if it's not on topic, if you want to talk to me about crime or something like that, we ask that you do a written question so that we can keep it on topic, okay? Let's go ahead and get started. We have about 4 or 5 written questions already.
Yes. Our first question is, will there be cleanup dumpsters in the neighborhood in the spring? If not, why?
Good question. I think that is the Chris. It did get taken out of the ordinance. Well, it's, as far as can casino gaming revenue be spent by district councilmen on that, that is not allowed anymore under city ordinance. Is that a true statement, Chris? And the reason is, that was inserted and then pulled out. It was inserted probably about 5 years into my term as mayor and pulled out last year. Unfortunately, it was pulled out because of abuse by a council person that's no longer on the city council anymore. And as a reaction to that, the ordinance was changed. That doesn't mean that, you know, there will never be cleanups again in the city of Hammond. It just can't be paid for out of district council gaming money as it was before. Obviously, we're committed to cleaning up our city. We're committed to a clean city. If you have recommendations on the location of these dumpsters, we're open-minded. However, some of the problems we saw with the dumpsters before were 90% of the trash going into it was coming from, well, maybe not 90%, but a lot of the trash going into it was coming across the state line in York City from contractors in Illinois. They were bringing their stuff into Hammond, dumping it, and then we didn't pay for it. So there were abuses with that. The idea behind it was noble. The idea behind it was to help clean up our neighborhoods, but in a lot of ways that system sort of got messed up. And we took care of it ordinance-wise, made it so that it's not legal anymore to pay for it the way it was. However, we are open-minded. If it's needed in an area for a short period of time, we're very open-minded. We could probably work through issues like that. Okay, if there's any follow-up on this, I'll come up to you. Okay, great first question. Thank you very much. I want to recognize the elected officials in attendance today. First off, I always appreciate Clerk Robert Golick for coming out. Thank you very much, brother. City Councilwoman at Large, Janet Menez. Thank you very much, Councilwoman. City Councilman at Large, Dan Spitali. Of course, Councilman Chico Hinojosa from the 6th District. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in.
Are there any plans to fix the Parish Railroad crossing?
The Parish Railroad crossing.
Is that the Norfolk and Southern one?
That's the one right by Parish Street, right?
Yes.
Did we just do that one?
Well, usually the railroads normally do those. Those are paid for with their own funding. I don't know if it's in bad shape. I can take a look at it. We can send a letter from the Board of Public Works and Safety to the railroad, telling them that they have to make repairs. So we'll follow up.
So, I mean, do you have any further questions on that, sir?
Well, it was our question.
The crossing for the probably last 3 months, there are holes bigger than, I mean, anybody who drives over it, especially headed south to north, if you come out of here on your way, there are numerous holes where you can't even move, shimmy to the right or to the left to get over. It's in bad shape.
Is it on the street part or is it on the rail part? Or is it like the rail street?
It's in between the rails. It's in that area.
Between the rails?
Yeah.
Is that us or is that the rail?
No, that's the railroad's responsibility. We can't work within their right-of-way because of the hazard of a train coming along. So normally, we'll send a letter from the Board of Public Works and Safety telling them that it's unsafe and then they'll make some kind of repairs. They are going to run out of weather, so they may do some temporary repairs.
I'm looking for help here, as you can tell. This is not my expertise. Obviously, it's very important. Greg Gleason.
Mayor, I saw those, and what he's talking about is right where the track is. It's right on each side of the track. I mean, literally on. The thing that worries us is when we put asphalt there, we usually let the railroad do it. We get hold of them, and they're pretty good about coming out and doing it. We get a little leery when we put that patch right by that track. You know, you don't want to take any kind of responsibility for any problems or anything like that. But I do know what you're talking about because I have seen it and we've called it a couple times. They're usually pretty good about getting out, but I'll follow up on that. Make sure it's taken care of.
Okay. Thank you. You know, we're going through a process right now in the city. I'm sure some of you have read about it, and it's going to deal with issues like this. We're combining 4 departments into 1 department. Hammond City Council and the Mayor's Office are working together on this right now. We're combining garbage, which is sanitation, recycling, which is a separate department. We're combining the street department and the park department all into 1 department called Public Works. There's efficiencies that come with that. You know, that's a nice way of saying that we're going to save money, you know, which makes a lot of you in the audience happy. But on this side, a lot of people are losing their jobs, being quite frank with you, and that's the hard part. However, when it's all said and done, instead of having 4 different bureaucracies running 4 different options, we're gonna have one department that's running all 4 of them. That's gonna be run by Gary Gleason and Johnny Perez, by the way. Could you two raise your hands over there? These are the 2 gentlemen that are gonna be in charge of the department, Gary and Johnny. And 6th district, I think the term is supervisors, that's a district supervisor. The district supervisors will be in charge of each district. So the 6th will have one person in that district that's responsible for all 4 of those departments. So if it's a grass issue, if it's a light that's out, if it's a pothole, we'll have one person in that district to go to. Obviously, that person's going to be getting to know the district council person very good, and the at-large council people very, very well, working also with Gary, who's in charge of the whole city. I think it's going to give a lot more accountability. So when issues like this come up in future mayor's nights, we'll have the person from the 6th district sitting up here taking these questions as well. And they better know about that pothole. You know, I think there's an excuse. Gary has to cover the whole city right now. When you bring up the pothole in the city, it's hard to pinpoint it. But if that person in the 6th doesn't know about a pothole, it's been there for a long time, that's a problem, right? That's why we want accountability in the districts like that. And to make it dead clear, we did it according to the council districts. So each district council person will have the person that they know is responsible for anything with parks, trash pickup, recycling pickup, or with the streets, or lighting for that matter. So we're working through this right now. January 1st is going to be the first day of the new Department of Public Works. That's when Gary and Johnny are going to take over the combined department. I think it's going to work excellent. I'm really looking forward to it. There's a lot of details right now. The union contracts had to be changed because it's 4 departments combined into one, so we're working with the unions right now to change the contracts. We're working with the council to come up with a new budget. We're having to deal with downsizing, which is never fun. But at the end, it's going to save us. Do you remember the savings associated with this move? Close to $1 million at the end of the day. And it's just getting more efficient, more accountable. So I think it's a win-win. Unfortunately, people are losing their job. And we're trying to minimize, you know, if somebody loses their job as a supervisor, maybe they catch back on in the union or something. We're hoping that we can minimize, you know, the number of employees that are getting laid off altogether, but we are going to save some money, which is nice. So issues like this after January, we'll have a lot more accountability here, even more than we do now. So thank you for raising that question. Is there any questions about the Public Works merger, since I brought up the topic myself? All right, it's going to be a quick mayor's night tonight. You guys are getting shy. As soon as we run out of questions, all my department heads run out. I'm just warning you guys right now. So, all right. So.
Okay, we have another track question. 165th from Summer Street to 165th East. Tracks need to be resurfaced.
Say it again. 165th.
165th Road from Summer Street.
Okay.
165th to East. Tracks need to be resurfaced.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, Kennedy Avenue from 169th South to about McDonald's needs to be repaved.
Oh. Don't we have news about that, Stan?
Yeah, we have good news and bad news. We submitted.
Well, let's focus on the good news. We're starting off on the wrong foot tonight.
We submitted both of those projects to NERC for federal funding. Both of them qualified for 80% federal match. Kennedy Avenue got approved and is going to go to construction next year. 165th didn't. I don't know if it was traffic volume or what. We may have to look at doing that locally, but it does need to be overlaid, that it is getting kind of rough. So we'll be looking at that for next year too, to see if we can find the funding source.
So, anyway, that's good news.
When does the Kennedy project possibly?
They're looking at a March letting, so it'll probably go to construction probably in April. Now that's still flexible because it's still pretty far off, and it's based on the state highway actually lets those projects where there's federal money involved. I think it's worth it about $6.5 million. It's going to improve drainage, surface, and dress up the parkway areas.
That was all part of the jobs bill, right, Bob?
Yeah.
The council, Councilman Hinojosa, the Hampton City Council, and the mayor's office worked together on the jobs bill, where there was a number of projects across the entire city that are, we matched basically a lot of federal money. So we had to come up with the match money. We came up with it at the gaming. Kennedy Avenue reconstruction is going to be part of that. So, do you have a question, sir?
Yeah, I'd like to know about the Wilson Line Span Bridge.
Yes,
When's it going to be open?
I was going right in there. Great question. Thank you. I'm not used to praising NDOT, but I find I'm doing it a lot more lately. They got a new guy in charge of NDOT locally, his name's Bob Alderman. He's a Republican state rep from Fort Wayne, and he is really one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's a great guy, he's very accountable, very accessible. Ever since he's taken over NDOT, and the funny thing is he took over for an old Hammond guy. And you would think that we'd have been taken care of, but it's almost like we got shut out. This new guy comes in, and you would think that there's a lot of reasons he may not like this area because we're all Democrats and he's a Republican. Guy's outstanding. He's very accountable. NDOT has kicked butt on that project. It's going to be open in December. We have a ribbon cutting there. I believe the governor's coming for the ribbon cutting. December 7th, is that? Courtney, do you remember the date on that? December 5th. I mean, that's incredible. How quick that bridge was rebuilt. If they would have taken the same approach with Clyde Avenue Bridge, we'd be driving on it right now. Anyway, so that's good news. Nice Man Bridge will be open in December, barring major incidents. And when you drive by it, it looks like it's ready to go. Speaking of the boulevard, yeah, I understand the other side of the boulevard's open today. Northbound lanes are open.
Indianapolis Boulevard will be fully open to traffic, even though the job isn't going to be completed. There's some work they're going to have to do next year.
Yeah, it's fully open now.
But yeah, is it?
Yeah, I drove there today.
Good.
I was driving all over the city today. Indianapolis Boulevard's open. 169th, not so good. 169th, not open this year?
Yeah, 169 is the only major thoroughfare that's not going to be fully open. There were a lot of underground issues out there, and the project's behind schedule. It'll be open one lane either direction on a new pavement, probably within the next 30 days, and that'll be open. But the opposite side isn't going to be completed in time.
Right now on 169th, there's a severe drop-off. One side, I guess eastbound versus westbound. Is that going to be like that over the winter? Because I can see cars dropping down that 3 feet right now.
I think they're going to try to fill that in so that that's not such a severe drop-off. Now they're telling me that it'll be fully open to 4 lanes, except for the piece between Columbia and Calumet. That's the section where they had all the underground issues.
Okay. All right, so 169th, it's going to be looking pretty much like it does right now through the winter, which is unfortunate. But the nice thing about that project is it's dramatic. Once they finish it, it's dramatic before and after. It's going to be outstanding once it's done, but it's going to be painful getting there, especially because we have to go through the winter like that. But Boulevard, reopen. I mean, the painful part about that is they're going to have to do the same thing next year, right? Basically the same stretch.
Yeah, but on the Boulevard, it shouldn't take long because they've got all the underground in. They just don't think that they can finish the curbs and the pavement. So it'll be a relatively short project next year, maybe 60 to 70 days to finish up the balance of it.
Okay. All right. Outstanding. We're talking about a lot of things right now. I guess transportation. You have another question, Sean?
This one is, it just says new sidewalks and lighting.
In general?
In general.
Okay. Maybe refine that one a little bit. It's a big city.
Yeah.
35 square miles. I think we gotta take her up here. How you doing? Thanks for coming.
Thank you. I live, right where I can Shepherd here, and I've been here 37 years.
So you're on Pariston or
I live on Delaware Avenue.
Delaware? Okay.
Our sidewalks, I have pictures to show you. I take my granddaughter, got most people's yards, and my neighbor here, she had fell because she didn't realize the sidewalk was that bad. The stitches in her head, broken thing, and it is so dark. She can't even walk across the street to the other neighbor.
Okay. All right. That's great. I mean, this is how things move forward. I mean, we try to get around the city as much as possible. This is totally appropriate what you did. Could you maybe follow that up, Michelle, and put more specific detail on the questionnaire?
Right, give us the addresses.
7400 Delaware. 7400 Delaware.
Yeah, we do sidewalks every year. We have an unsafe sidewalk program. If you call engineering, we have one gentleman whose job is to follow up on sidewalks, and his name is Jonathan Parker. Then the councilman funds the work on the sidewalk through the gaming boat revenue. So we have work done every year. It's getting late this year. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but they could do it first thing in the spring.
Okay. Thanks, Tim. Hi, man. Sorry about the call.
Yes, I would like to know if NIPSCO could come and trim the trees that are growing by the light.
We have,
It's so dark there, you can't even cross the street.
Okay, great, that's a great question, and.
And we
you know,
only have one light.
Okay,
And
and that goes back to the other question as well.
we need another one in the cul-de-sac, because it is just too dark.
Okay.
You can't enjoy the summer when it gets dark. You're afraid to cross the street. It's terrible over there.
Gotcha. You know, and NIPSCO is very good when they trim, they're very good about trimming. There's not much of the tree left when they get done, I just want to warn you. Usually people call up after and say, they left nothing, you know, they trim it so that they don't have to come back for like 3 years, in my opinion. So, I mean, could we put more detail on that question then, Michelle, and we'll turn it in, and we'll take it as a two-person complaint about lighting in 7400 block of Delaware, okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you very
Don't
much.
forget about us people on
No,
Delaware.
no, you're doing it the right way.
I called you once and I told you, and you said, no, I didn't forget about you. That was a year ago.
I still remember you.
Forget about it.
Written is way better than spoken.
And I
Okay?
listen to you every Friday. I'm gonna get
See,
back
you
to
should call up. You should call up in the bucket. I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. You should call up. No, squeaky wheel gets the grease. I've heard that saying, and it's true. People that keep on repeating or keep on reminding, it's not because we don't love you guys on the 7400 block of Delaware. It's because we're getting bombarded by a lot of people with a lot of problems. So I promise you, if you stay persistent, this is the kind of thing that gets it done. Okay? I promise you. And probably there's 10 other people sitting in the audience with similar things. They just didn't, write it down on a question. So I promise you, we'll take this, we'll follow it up. Maybe next year we can get it done. Okay?
I heard that. I'll call you on radio.
Yeah, it's gonna be on tape.
And I'll make sure.
It's gonna be on tape. We're on Go Ham TV. You can play it back to me. Okay? Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. All right.
I have a question while we're on the subject of sidewalks. If you're out walking and you see somebody's trees either coming from their yard or on the parkway that are hanging low over the sidewalk on either walking the street or something,
Great.
who would we call?
That's a great question.
Get that taken care
How
of?
about this? I'm a runner and a biker, and when people park, their driveway goes across the sidewalk and they park their car and they block it. I have a house, I know that they do it every single day. That's a great question. Chris, City Attorney Extraordinary, Corporate Counsel Extraordinary. Just in general, like, people, like, their tree goes over and it hangs over the sidewalk, so like if you're walking or you have to go out, or maybe they're blocking the sidewalk with their car.
Sorry, we do have an ordinance that says you're not supposed to block any public right-of-way with anything, with a car, with a sawhorse, with a lawnmower. You're not supposed to block any public right-of-way, including sidewalks, streets, alleys, curbs. So if there is a location where something is blocking, and it's not temporary, somebody's putting their groceries down and bring them in the house. And if there's something where there's blocking, please call code enforcement, and they can go out there and take a look, 853-6447. Nothing is supposed to block. It's supposed to be completely open in case of an emergency. A person with a stretcher has to come down that way. A person in a wheelchair has to come down that way. It's not supposed to block anything.
Sorry about that, talking to you. Looks like you just got off the SWAT wave or something. So bottom line is, if you see somebody with their tree hanging over the sidewalk, call code enforcement. Code enforcement, same thing if their car is blocking the sidewalk, code enforcement. Get ready, code.
Or, if it's a car.
I got one. I mean, every day they block, and it's annoying. It really is, because little kids that are riding their bikes have to go out in the street and everything. It's really annoying.
It's a perfect opportunity to put one of the green tags on, let people know that they have to trim those down so they're not interfering with the public walkway. That doesn't get action in the issue of citation. Something like that's pretty easy to take care of. You'd expect them to do it themselves, but we can give them a helpful reminder.
Okay. All right, great question. Thank you. Any follow-up on that? All right. I wanted to recognize Dr. Marilyn Jones, a Hammond School Board trustee, and thank you very much for coming out. Thank you, Marilyn. I apologize. I couldn't see that.
What arrangements will be made regarding traffic flow when Purdue University Calumet construction begins?
Regarding the athletic facilities?
Yes, the athletic facilities.
Okay. The construction, what construction project?
With this limited traffic flow, with the traffic around this building, to and fro traffic of trucks.
Okay. Good question. I can tell you a lot of most of the work's gonna be going in the park, not on the road. You know, just, and I appreciate Dr. Jones for bringing that up. You know, this is gonna be a construction zone over pretty much the next year. Dowling Park. The good news, that's the bad news. The good news is when it's all said and done, you're gonna have a state-of-the-art athletic facility that Purdue Cal plays all of its home sports on right here. Tennis courts, soccer field, men's baseball, women's softball field. All right here, right behind Gene Shepherd Center. When Purdue Cal is scheduled there, they'll play there. It's their fields, built by the city of Hammond. When they're not using it, there are fields. So the tennis fields, if they're not scheduled for meets or anything or practice for Purdue Cal, they're gonna be open for the public. The softball fields, we're gonna have teams come in and play when the Purdue Cal girls aren't playing there. Hold tournaments over the weekend, stuff like that. Same goes for the soccer. We could have a lot of different options with this, but the bottom line is Purdue Cal Sports is going to be headquartered in Dowling Park. I think that's great for the city of Hammond. That's why we partnered with them on this. A healthy Purdue Cal is a positive for Hammond, Indiana. And if we can encourage them to invest in athletic facilities, which they are, that's a good thing for Hammond, Indiana. And I tell you, I've talked to the chancellors, I talked to the current chancellor, I talked to the last chancellor, and they have bright visions for the athletic program one day, maybe even including a football team. And if they had a football team, it'd probably be pretty close to where we are right now. I mean, that's a big university with 10,000 students. That's the same size as Notre Dame. Notre Dame has 10,000 students. Purdue Cal has 10,000 students. We need to figure out how to keep those kids in Hammond, Indiana. And if it's sports, and if we're offering a lot of athletic, options right here, and who knows, maybe we build another dorm or two. By the way, those 2 dorms came in under this administration. We don't have problems with the dorms. They're good neighbors. Those kids are running on my street all the time. They're playing football out there. This is a good thing for Hammond, Indiana. Purdue Cal. So I think that, even though the city is investing in this on their behalf, I think it's a real positive. And by the way, if you live close to it, I don't see how that's going to hurt your home values. I think it's only going to help. These are top-notch facilities. Turf. I mean, Purdue Cal athletics is going to be a real positive thing. So, Doctor, and I didn't mean to steal your subject, Doctor. So.
No, I agree with you 100%.
No, I know, and I didn't think you didn't. But as far as the construction traffic and stuff like that, Bob, Stan, you guys have been working with them.
There's no actual construction going on in any of the surrounding right-of-ways. Everything's going to be within the site. But there will be trucks and cars coming to and from the site. We haven't picked the contractor yet, but once we do, we'll sit down with him and then talk about traffic access so that it limits any kind of issues for the surrounding neighborhood.
So, that's something I'm really excited about. And I think it's going to be real positive for us. And I think if you live close by, by the way, part of this process, the first part of it is working on the fundamentals. We would need the fields built so that they can start. The baseball team wants to play on these fields next baseball season. They want to be playing on this field. So the first year is just throw the fields out there, get them playing on them. The second year is going to be doing the niceties, putting in the lights, a walking track around the entire park. That's for the neighbors, the parking lots and making it nice. We took the same approach when we did our baseball fields. We do it over a couple seasons. In Optimus Park, it was over, 3 years? Or 4 years, 3 years, right? 3 years. First year was get the fields down. Second year was finish the fields. Third year, all the niceties. You're going to see pretty much the same type of approach taken here. First year, get the fields down. Second year, we'll finish it up. And it's going to be nice. I promise you, when we do these facilities, they're top notch. Dowling Park is going to be a gem when this is all done. And there's going to be a lot more college kids over here. I imagine this building will get a lot more use. It's going to be a real positive for everybody. But walking track is definitely part of that. And that's more for the neighborhood than anything. So, anybody have any questions about the Purdue Cal project?
On the end of 171st Street in Hessville, the west end, the dead end there,
I know
there's a big sign up there that says Peller Park, owned by
Purdue Cal, right.
It's a garbage dump.
Yeah,
And the kids go in there, they ditch school, that in the woods next to it, they go in there and they're smoking pot, they're drinking, they're building fires, and the fires can very easily get out of control.
Mm-hmm.
What is going to happen to that? Is anybody going to clean it up?
That's a great question. I haven't talked to the new chancellor about that. He's been on the job for a year. I probably should have, but I know I talked to the old chancellor, and they were always looking to get rid of that. it never really made sense for them to own that piece of property. It's too far away from the campus. There's really, if they did anything there, it'd be hard for the students to get to that because it's miles away from the Purdue's main campus. That's why Dowley Park made so much sense for Purdue Cal. It's right here. They could literally walk from the dorms here, and we got to figure out how to make that easier. The issues you bring up in this park on 171st are legitimate issues that we should definitely follow up. Anybody got any ideas here? Gary?
Mayor, we've worked a couple times in there. Brian Miller, Chief Miller, myself and Kelly. We had some people actually build homes in there, and I mean, they were camouflaged. They were really hard. Brian and I walked down there and chased them out. So what we did, if you noticed on 171st, we cut all that back as much as we could, but they're still able to get in there. There's a lake back there. So, you know, you go back there and you catch them and they're like, well, I'm just here fishing. And you look and you got a mattress and stuff like that back there. About the only thing, I mean, maybe check with Brian about patrolling it or more, walking through there like him and I did last time, and we got everybody out of there.
Gary,
Chief, could you grab a microphone?
Gary, I live on that lake.
Right, you're in the apartment building,
Yes,
sure.
They aren't apartment buildings.
Or condos.
Townhomes,
Yes.
individually owned, and I live there. And these are people, some of them are veterans having problems. They have a tent city in there. They build fires, which is, if that fire ever jumped, it would destroy all of Ridgewood townhomes because there'd be nothing to stop it.
Well, you've actually called us because you saw them from your balconies.
Oh,
That's
yes.
how, you know, we found some of them
And
too.
they had a stash of pornographic stuff in there. They have, if you want to get drunk over there, the teenage kids go there and get booze from them. And they keep coming back. I believe they're there again now.
Okay.
And
Chief
this-
Miller,
This is.
We'll go through there tomorrow, Mayor.
do you ever have issues like this before? I mean,
In the past, we've had some issues. We went there and cleaned them out. Usually during the winter, they're gone. Sometimes during the summer months, they do set up tents, Mayor.
Well, this is all private property. It's marked private
Right.
property. That area over there where they have the tent city, that's owned by Briar East Shopping Center. That's not a lake, it's a retention pond.
okay.
And it's owned by all the people who own property around us. Brook Forest over there, where it's called something else now, they own part of that. We own part of that. We're cleaning our area, we're
Okay.
keeping it. And I
I'm
said-
glad you brought this up.
But it's very scary. We've got, our place is inhabited by a lot of older people. And they don't go out after dark because you don't know what's coming out of the woods.
All right.
And what's coming out of the woods is raccoons. Lots of big raccoons.
Evelyn, we'll be there tomorrow. I promise.
Okay, but I want to talk about the raccoons too.
Okay, but I want you to know before we get into raccoons.
Okay.
We're gonna follow up tomorrow. I want the police there.
They know
Gary's
where my
there.
house is. They can come and knock on my door.
It's fine. No, but I mean, we try to do it anonymous. We don't want people, although it's.
Right.
But the bottom line is we're gonna be out there. I don't think they're watching Bohemian TV if they're living out by the lake, so.
Oh, no.
If they are, they got a really good setup, so.
Okay, now Nashville is getting invaded by raccoons. They're multiplying like crazy. They're living in attics. I've got a woman that lives next door to me, but there's at least 10 raccoons in her attic. It's terrible because you can't sleep at night because they're out tearing open the garbage. We have big dumpsters. We finally got all new dumpsters there, but they were tearing those up and everything. People are afraid to let their kids go out there and play. It's all of Ridgewood there, south. It's over in Ken's area.
We can't go on private property now.
Well, we've been talking, and what we're asking you to do is, can you have an ordinance passed that you the city contracts with some exterminator, that they would be on call to come in and trap these animals? It's ridiculous. We're overrun, not just our area, but all other areas. They're dangerous. I've called every department in the city. I've called the DNA. The DNA actually got so tired of me, he says, buy a friggin' bottle of poison and put it out. Now, that's bad for the DNA, you know, but they're so fed up. I've called the state. I've called all the...
But if we did that on private property, it would be no different than us mowing the lawn on somebody on private property. It'd be the same thing with the law, which could get us in trouble.
Yes, but
And
what
we're
are
real
you going to
careful.
do to protect the people? Because those damn things, they're dangerous. There's raccoons.
I'm gonna get the corporate council to weigh in.
There's raccoons.
I got it.
Ma'am, just take a breath for a second. There is something called the There's something called the Unsafe Building Act, and it allows the city to take an action against a person, including abating a nuisance, including infestations of rodents, cockroaches, and usually in such cases, we knock the house down. Because obviously, if there's a woman who's got 10 raccoons in her attic and she's not doing anything about it, she either doesn't live there or she lacks the capacity to maintain a home.
No, she lives there and she has the capacity. She's just ornery.
Well, we would have to bring an action before the Board of Works, and we would bring her in, and we would get an order, and that order would allow us then to take an action on private property. However, that action might be boarding up the space where they're getting in, or just knocking the house down if it's in such disrepair that it's infested with vermin.
It's a townhouse. It's three houses in one building.
Evelyn, how about this? Why don't we follow it up with Kelly, code enforcement? Maybe we can take a look at code
Code
enforcement.
enforcement has been out there for that house.
You know about this, Kelly?
And several others.
Not the raccoon problem, sir.
They've been out there for that house and several others.
Okay.
And they've never followed up. They've never taken it to court or anything.
Okay.
When you have an occupied house and has a raccoon problem, it's up to the person who's occupying the house to take care of it. Now, if they're not taking care of it, we can issue the citation, give them a court date. If they don't do something, bring some paperwork saying that they're doing something to a problem. Chris is right, we can board up the situation or take matters in hands. But there are steps.
But that's a long process too. I mean,
absolutely.
The frustrating thing for you is, even if we did do that process, and we went through the unsafe building code, and we started to try to take the house, that's a process that would take
3 months.
3 months?
The reason is, let me explain why it takes 3 months. It's not just because we're targeted. The first thing we do is we identify a property, is photograph it, and document it. Then we have to go to a title commitment, because every single person who has an interest in the property, lenders, lien holders, has to be notified by the mail. And so we have to send certified mail. Certified mail takes 2 weeks to come back in regular mail. Then we have to set a hearing date, and we have to publish of that hearing date. And then we have the hearing date, and then we can enter the order, and then they have 10 days to appeal to the Superior Court. If they don't appeal, then we can bid it out. Then it takes 3 months. It takes another month to bid it out, because we have to repeat the exact same process that was
It
started.
could take 3 months. It typically takes
6 months.
Thank you.
But if we
Which means, Evelyn, even if we did take that process, you're sitting there for 6 months saying the city's screwing me because they're not doing anything, when in fact we are. We're going through all.
When I worked at the police department, that was in our unit that we wrote all those citations, and I know it can be done.
What's this? I'm sorry.
When I worked in the police department in community affairs, we wrote the home security and the maintenance ordinance violations up there. And what you're telling me is what we went through. But at least we carried through. We went through. We went to court with them, anything like that. The ones that we've complained about, it's never gone to court.
This is the first I've heard about it.
Do you have a homeowners association? If it's a townhouse, do you have an association that, because...
Not if it's defective, Chris. That's the problem. We have been invaded by people who have bought the homes and they rent them out and they just don't give a damn.
Okay.
And the rest of us own it and we're suffering for it and we need help. That's the only townhouse development in the city of Hammond. It was built in 1973. It was really nice up till about 8 years ago. And we need help. We need to get these raccoons out of there. We need to get these slug bugs out of there. One house, you did close up one house over there. It was infested with roaches so badly. And no electricity, no water. The water was dripping down the wall. They did put a sign on the door.
Mayor, she can give you some addresses. It's a very confusing little piece of land.
Okay.
I'll give you some addresses and that we haven't had rental registration problems in here before.
Okay.
We're pretty much under control. I'll
Okay.
cite whatever you say.
All right. We're going to move on now. But I think we got the idea. We got the complaint. We're going to follow it up tomorrow, okay?
I hope so.
Okay. I appreciate it. But we are limited because it's private property. But I promise you we'll follow this up and see what we can do. You're right. If there's a roach infestation, you're right. We do shut it down. If it's infested with raccoons, as you say, then we're going to have to do...
I had to retrain my little dog to use a newspaper in the kitchen because I can't take him outside because of those raccoons.
Okay. All right.
And I don't like that.
I know. I don't like it either. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Evelyn also has some questions about parks and sanitation.
That was all included in the raccoons, yeah. Okay. I'll leave you alone now. I'll
We
be
get paid
back.
for it. You'll be back.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's all about. Mayor's night out.
No one obeys stop signs by Hess School, 177th and Grand. Also college bound, finding new funding. Graffiti on Walgreens brick wall at 169th and Kennedy.
All right. Okay. Let's do it one thing at a time. Chief. Hess School. Nobody's paying attention to the stop sign.
Got it, Mayor, I'll put my traffic units out there. They'll be out there in the, is it morning or afternoon mostly?
It's afternoon.
Afternoon, okay. We will address it, I'll have my
Beautiful
people out there.
school, people get into a hurry because they're coming in or going out over there, so.
It's common in all the school areas. We go around to each and every one of the schools and try to police them. But since we have 20, I think we have 26 schools, it's tough to get, you know, every single one every single day. But I'll have them out there tomorrow.
Kids don't have school tomorrow? Oh, you're right, they're out.
Oh, and if you're feeding.
Winter break? I know my kids are out. Winter break, right?
And graffiti on Walgreens wall, it looked like game.
Graffiti on Walgreens wall? On Kennedy?
I've been a part of it, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a whole wall, like a star.
Like where, what part, like the drive-through?
No. When you could come off 169th into the parking lot there.
Really? Oh, okay.
We'll follow up with that also, Mayor. It's the court has graffiti removal, but I'll follow up with them.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a graffiti removal program that's run through the city court. Judge Harkin's program, it's real good. You know, they can match it up pretty well and make it so that we usually tag it. Once it's tagged, we usually get rid of it. It's not very often, it lasts more than a day. Usually the same morning it goes on, it comes off. So we have a hotline on that. What's the new 853-6300, right? That's the new phone number for the city? We have a new, No. We have a new phone tree in the city, and we're trying to get people to use it. So we're going to start coming out with more information in that, but it's going to be easier for you to reach departments directly like that. A lot of people right now, 6300, that's right. Thanks, Chris. I was trying to remember what I had meeting with. It was Chris. Hey, you want to talk a little bit about that, the new phone tree, or what did you call it? I called it phone tree. You guys.
Auto attendant.
Auto attendant.
Yeah, it's an auto attendant. Instead of advertising every department that we have and you having to look through the phone book to find the right number, we just want you to call one number, 219-853-6300. Very easy to remember. There's an auto attendant. Listen to the cues. You'll get to where you need to go.
So if you need to call Clerk Kohler, you call 6300, hit Clerk Kohler's number, and it goes right to him. Wonderful. We'll get it right to his office if you want. Right to you. Thank you, Clerk Kohler. But we're going to be coming out with more detail on that in the future. I know we were going through a meeting today. There's also an app on, if you have an Android or an iPhone or an iPad, there's an app for the city of Hammond right now. We're testing it. You can actually download it. I downloaded it onto my iPad and my iPhone, and you can see what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it so that if there's graffiti at Walgreens, you pull out your smartphone, you open up the 311 app, and it puts a little flag on there, and the GPS locates it for us, so we know exactly where you are, and you say graffiti on wall, take a picture of it, and you send it to us, right? And it starts like a little chat topic. The chat topic would be graffiti on Walgreens wall, and you'd say, saw it this morning, must have went down last night, and then maybe Judge Harkin's graffiti removal program will write on there. I responded to it and cleaned it up. He takes a picture of it, and it's clean. It works like that if there's a pothole problem. Same thing, you know, potholes, graffiti, things of that nature. You can report it through your smartphone. You can also on your smartphone get directly to city departments, like if you want to call the mayor's office. If you hit that number, it goes right into our auto attendant and gets you to the mayor's office. So we're working out the kinks on this process right now. Chris has been working really hard trying to take Hammond and make us a 21st century city. He's doing a great job. So do you have anything else you want to add on this with the 311?
Did a great job.
Okay, the 311, they could actually download that right now, right, Chris?
Yeah, Hammond 311. It's
Right.
available in iTunes and the Google Play Market.
The App Store, right? Not in iTunes.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, it's
I'm not an Apple guy.
I know you're an Android guy. But you can download it right now. We haven't publicly unveiled it yet because we're not ready to, it's not, all the kinks aren't worked out. We're still working on the details. So if you want to download it and give us recommendations on how to improve it, we're totally open-minded right now, okay? All right, that was the first question. Second question was regarding college-bound funding, right? We had a meeting in Morton High School about a week ago. 170 people were there. It was a pretty well-attended meeting. Got it off to a good start. College Bound has this school year, next school year, and the school year after left guaranteed in the first 10-year promise. After that, it's up in the air about whether or not the program will be continued. It has to be determined by Hammond City Council and the mayor. So we're holding a series of public forums across the city of Hammond right now to talk in particular about this program. The first meeting went well. In fact, Jim Hazel from Morton High School is on our exception committee. Jim, thank you very much. Jim was there. Jim, do you have anything you want to add to that? I thought the meeting went really well. Hold on, what's up, Sean? Little did you know you were going to get the microphone shoved in your face. Is that
No, I was very pleased with not only the outpouring of the public, but just a number of, we'll call them testimonials that everybody was giving about the value of College Bound. And you know yourself, Mayor, we had some input that sparked some thoughts for the College Bound people of things we can do. And so that's exactly what town hall meetings are for.
We got another one planned already. It's for last March, right? I can't remember the date off the top of my head.
We're going to be at Edison.
Oh, it's Edison next?
Edison's next.
Do you remember the date on that?
I see you picking up.
It's going to be at Edison Elementary on November 21st at 6:30.
Oh, look at that. Leanne's way down there. Hey, Leanne. What was the date again?
November 21st at Edison Elementary.
Leanne's a good story. She's a College Bound success story. That's why it's so special that she's actually running the College Bound program. Leanne graduated in the first class, College Bound.
I started in 2006.
Yeah, and she, graduated. We met her through the internship program. This is actually a total success story, and I know I embarrass her because I talk about her all the time. We met her as an intern because each year the College Bound students, when they're going through the program, intern somewhere in the city. They can work in mayor's office, they can work in the police department, but they pick a location to work in. We met Leanne over the years. She had to do it 4 times. And after she graduated, we hired her. She comes in, works a couple jobs, bounces up, and next thing you know, she's running the College Bound program. So she's done a great job for us. She's a perfect example of why this program is important, and I appreciate her bailing me out because I forgot the date. So we have Edison scheduled already. Is there another one after that scheduled?
The one after that is going to be at Lost Marsh, and that's on January 8th, also at 6:30. It's going to be in the North Banquet Room.
Okay. But these are important meetings. I know the council has attended, and it's real important to get everybody out there so that we can all get on the same page about how important this program is, if we're going to continue it, and if we are going to continue it, how it should be funded. Because currently it's funded through gaming revenues, and that's something that makes me nervous. Just because the gaming market's changed a lot in the last 7 years. We were the dominant player, Horseshoe Casino. We still are the dominant player, but we were a dominating presence in the casino gaming industry 7 years ago when this program started. And here we are now, we're a market leader still, we're a great casino still, but there's a lot more competition out there, and Rahm Emanuel has made no secret about the fact that he wants to open a big casino in Chicago, and if that happens, it's a fixed pie, and it's just, he's taking chunks out of the amount of revenue that's available for us. And Hammond will still be a gaming industry leader, no matter what happens, even if Chicago opens casinos. However, it's reasonable to expect maybe a 1/3 drop in casino revenue. 1/3, $10 million. And if that happens, and we lose $10 million, that's less streets that we could do. And, obviously that scares everybody when you start seeing revenue in the city drop like that. And if we're, College Bound costs us over $3 million a year right now. So I don't want to get to the point where maybe gaming industry goes away one day, who knows? And if that happens, I don't want College Bound totally reliant on gaming revenue. So we talked about some options about how to fund it. Protections we could build into it so that the council could feel good about it. So to the mayor, that if we are going to make another commitment for 10 years, that, if the worst happens, and I always use the example of Horseshoe Casino moves away or shuts down or burns down or something, God forbid, horrible happens to Horseshoe Casino, we need to protect ourselves as a city. I mean, if we lost a major source of revenue, how can we continue to pay for kids' college expenses? So these are some of the issues that we're talking about at these public forums. I think it was a real positive meeting. And real sobering, but real positive. And I would encourage you, if you're interested in this, I think even if you don't have children, you should be interested in this because it makes us unique, helps the market value of your home. I think it's real important. So thank you again, Leanne, for the dates, and see you out there. Was there any other questions on that one? Okay.
Are there any plans to develop a bus or light rail system for this area?
Busing, there's nothing solid. This is a state that is hostile to any new funding sources. If we were gonna run buses in Hammond, you know, they would have to come out of Hammond's budget somewhere, and the budget's already challenged. If it was gonna be regional busing, the county would have to fund it. And the county just passed the local option income tax, and I can tell you, I know these people, there's no will whatsoever to pass another tax. In fact, there's a lot of regret that they passed the one, they felt forced into passing the last tax. I don't see them passing another tax. Through those bodies, the county council, the county commissioner, I don't see it. No way. I don't see it for years, actually. I think they did what they had to do, and I don't think they're gonna, knock on that door again. The state has been approached, not for the region, the state's been approached on behalf of Marion County about giving Marion County the ability to raise sales taxes to fund buses. Give them the ability to raise sales taxes to fund buses. It wouldn't cost the state of Indiana anything. They blocked Marion County. They said, no, you will not. They wouldn't even give them the ability to do that. This is a state that doesn't want to let us expand our tax base at all. Indiana prides itself on being a low tax state. Some people think that's a good thing, some people don't. All right? I'm not going to tell you one way or the other, but I can tell you this. The state is not going to cooperate with us in raising our revenue at all. What we have right now is what we have. And for us to take on another responsibility like busing, the most important thing that we could do is make sure that public safety is number one. And I hate to say it, but busing would be another $1 million at least, and I just don't know how we'd pay for it. I know Frank Mervan's done a great job, our North Township trustee, picking up the slack, and I know that NERC, I'm a member of NERC, I know that we've helped fund Frank in his, what Frank's done is a safety net. He's trying to help those that, like, I always, I know a couple that lives in Hammond, they're both legally blind. What do these people do if there's no buses? There's people that are severely impacted. I totally recognize that, and I sympathize with it. I fought for buses for a long time, and it's just, this is a state that's not sympathetic like that. They're not sympathetic at all like that. They're not going to give us the ability to do this, even if we wanted to. It's a sad situation. So what Frank has done is in the extreme cases where they're totally disabled, they're blind, or they're challenged where they can't walk, or Frank has helped the truly neediest, and I think he's done a great job of that, and I appreciate Frank doing that. And I feel better about myself knowing that there's somebody out there like Frank doing that. I mean, it's consistent with his job, which is poor relief. But I don't really see Indiana letting us move forward on this issue. And in the region, there's no movement afoot to fund regional busing at all. At all. I don't see it. In fact, if anything, people are digging in against it. It's not a politically popular issue. And I'm not saying that it should be about politics. I'm just telling you, as an elected official, you don't see too many of them saying, I think busing's a great idea. And especially the further south you go. You'll hear it from people like up here. But you go down south and you say, what do you think about buses coming down to St. John? It's just the will is not there. So I think I've covered busing well enough. Rail, there is movement on the rail front, believe it or not. Call it right or wrong, call it what you want. The Westlake expansion of the NICTY line, the South Shore line, Congressman Pete set a deadline. He would like to see a funding source in place by March 31st, 2014. And I heard about this deadline. I was shocked because I didn't know anything about a deadline. So I said, okay, and I had a meeting with the Congressman last week, and there was a number of elected officials in the meeting. I said, Congressman, I hear about this deadline. Who has to act on this deadline? Is it the cities you expect, or is it the county? He said, no, it's not the cities, or it's not the county. I want the state to give the region the ability to tax, interstate travelers, like a diesel tax or something. I said, okay. I wish you luck, Congressman. He's got a lot more pull in the State House than I do. I don't know if that's going to be successful or not, and if it's successful, he wants to use the money generated from a diesel tax to fund the South Shore expansion. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I can tell you that that's where they're headed. And if it happened, it would go from downtown Hammond down to Monon, which is right next to the brand new bike trail we built. They would coexist peacefully, by the way. We made the bike trail so that if this did happen, the bike trail wouldn't have to be ripped up, but the line would go straight down, parallel to Holman Avenue, parallel to Lyman, for those of you that know what I'm talking about, all the way down to Little Cal, jump over into Munster, and it would take the Monon all the way down to basically 45th and Calumet, where it would dead end. That would be the terminal. As all you know, Munster Steel, which is located there right now, moved out of Munster in anticipation of a couple projects. This was one of them. They're moving to Hammond. They're not going to change their name to Hammond Steel, unfortunately. So Munster Steel is located in Hammond. Part of the reason they're moving is because they know eventually this line is going to get built, and it's the location of the train stations where they sit. So I don't know if it's going to happen on the timeline the congressman's pushing, but I know that there's a will there to extend that line down to Munster, and it's coming from big people, big elected officials, a lot bigger than your mayor. Congressmen, senators, key senators from parts of Indiana, like Noblesville, senators that are involved in this. So I don't know if it's going to happen or not. That's hot off the press as well. Any questions? All right. Yes, ma'am. Sure. About that, mine?
What's going on with the building and Hammond off of Kennedy and Woodmar Shopping Center? Whatever happened to that?
Oh, good. You mean Woodbar Shopping Center?
And the one on Kennedy, they're supposed to start building.
Okay.
Nothing's going on.
Hi, Phil Taylor.
Hello. First, the Woodmar Shopping Center, right now, we're actually in litigation. So there's only so much we can discuss, but a lot of people know we had an agreement with the developer at Woodmar, the man who owns Woodmar, and in the agreement, there were certain provisions and things that he had to do, and at this point, it's in litigation. So things are moving along, going through the process that it has to, but I can't really comment too much on what's going on other than he did put up the building. Obviously there's 3 tenants in the building right now, and he did some other things like resurfacing the parking lot. There's new lighting in there, which we're happy about, because we used to get a lot of complaints about customers going to Carson's and it was so dark they didn't want to get out of their cars. So we do have some improvements at the site, but right now we're fighting with the developer because we don't feel like he did everything he was supposed to do, and we'll see where it ends up. As far as, were you talking about Kennedy Avenue in 8094? Well, recently we signed a deal with a company called Flossmoor Station Restaurant and Brewery, and in the spring of 2014, construction is going to begin on a new restaurant called Hammond Station. It's going to be approximately 26,000 square feet. It's going to be about 8,000 square feet of restaurant, and then there's going to be a large brewery also. We're excited about it. It's about a $10 million investment, 120 new employees. And I know from the feedback I've been getting from a lot of people when I've been talking about it at community meetings, a lot of people are excited about it. And I hope you will be once it's up and running. The owners are great people. It's an older couple. What they've done in Flossmoor, when they put their restaurant in there's nothing else there. Now it's a vibrant community with a lot of different businesses around it, and they created that with their business. So we're hoping they'll do the same, work as an anchor at our River Park site, or what we call Oxbow Landing. We are negotiating with 3 other businesses at Kennedy and 8094. One is pretty public, it's the Animal Hospital Project. We've kind of gone back and forth on details of the agreement, so we're getting closer. And I'm hoping in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have another announcement for everybody. But as of right now, we can't really talk too much about it because of confidentiality. But things are progressing, and since Flossmoor, or Hammond Station, was put into the newspaper and became public, a lot of other businesses have contacted us. So it's kind of worked like we thought it would. And hopefully, within a year or 2, the entire site's going to be completely full. And hopefully it'll be a place where a lot of people that are in this meeting are going to be excited about visiting and hopefully buying things. Thank you.
What's happening with the protest?
All right, hold on, what was that?
What's happening with protest?
Potash?
Potash.
Oh, yeah, good question. I just saw an email that.
Yeah, I actually just sent an email to the president today to find out when they're going to begin. Basically what happened is, going through their due diligence process, they found out that the soil had some compaction issues. And I don't, obviously this can get too technical. But they feel like they've gotten through the issues at this point. They've done all the engineering that they needed to. According to the president, he's hoping that construction is going to start before the end of this year. Obviously, that'll depend on a few things happening, but they are still moving forward with their project. It's not an if, it's more of a when situation. They already have rail cars going through the site every day. So potash has already had an effect on the area, but the actual regional distribution center, which obviously is the biggest part of the project, hopefully will begin before the end of this year.
Were they having financial problems?
No financial problems whatsoever. Potash is a very large company. They're the largest potash company in the world. So it had nothing to do with money. It had to do with their agreement with IHB and, like I said, soil issues.
The compaction issue, I just talked to Stan, it's basically it's where you have to put the footings. It's too soft where the footings are planned and the building would sag, so I had to do an analysis on that, I guess.
Yeah, you have to remember that this building's gonna look like the United Center when it's up. The thing is huge. So what they did was when they designed it, they assumed that they had one type of soil, and after they've done some investigation, the soil's a little softer than they thought, so they're redesigning footings to support the weight of the structure. I spoke to somebody from Potash last week, and they said, we're committed to the project, and we plan on building it. It's just that these delays are because of structural issues.
Great question. Any other questions? Background development-wise?
The new Walmart?
New Walmart.
New Walmart is going through the process. They were approved at redevelopment commission. They've gone through plan commission. I believe they may have one more meeting with BZA. So they're done. So really Walmart is on track, and I believe you might see some ground movement before the end of this year, but I think you're going to see the major construction in the spring of 2014. That is moving forward. It's a done deal. The city doesn't have any incentives with Walmart, so however, we did kind of make sure that we're going to get one of the better looking Walmarts in this area. We asked for an all brick building, and I hope that you'll be excited the way it looks when it's completed, because it's going to be one of the nicest looking Walmarts in all of Northwest Indiana for sure.
It's going in the same parking lot as Cabela's, on the other side of the parking lot. All right. Yes, sir.
Some years ago, there was a sewer break right outside my garage in the alley. I called the city, they came right out, dug it up, patched it up, and fixed it up.
Thanks.
Oh, ever since then, it has sunk down a little, and there's a hole right by the side of my garage. And every time there's a rain, all the water runs down that hole. And it's been doing that for a few years now. Where is all that water going? There still has to be another break in the sewer.
Okay. Scotty Mitchell?
After the meeting, if you come up to me and give me your address, and we'll look into it first thing tomorrow and do some investigation on that for you. Unless it's a homeowner private line, then the homeowner would be responsible, but we can help determine that.
Right in the middle of the alley.
Okay. If you can tell me your address afterwards, it'd be great.
We'll just forward that question. Is it a written question? Okay, just make sure you get your address after, okay, sir? Thank you. All right. We have another written question?
Yes, these are recycling. Why can't we recycle all plastic instead of just number 1 and 2? And why is it so difficult to dispose of hazardous materials?
Good question. Steve Fowler?
Good evening. The plastic issue is because we only have so much room at our facility, and we can only ship so many different types of materials to different places. Obviously, we do paper and glass and cardboard, steel and aluminum, and then plastic, we do 2 kinds of plastic, which are number 1s and number 2s. If you look at the triangle on the bottom of the plastic. The reason we can't do the others is simply a space issue and a demand issue. If it takes a year and a half to get a truckload worth of a particular plastic, then it's really not in our interest to do it simply because we don't have the space to store it for a year and a half. There's something like 13 different kinds of plastic that you can buy in your grocery store to give you an idea of the type of problem it is. And our line is only, I want to say it's about 45 feet of sorting line. And to have a line to be able to sort all those different times, we need almost 4 times the size of a building than we have. And obviously, that's just not in anybody's interest. As far as the hazardous waste material, now, regarding that, I will backtrack to one thing I know the mayor's talked about. There is a possibility sometime down the road, at a to be named later date, that we may change the way we recycle and we may not use our facility for sorting. If that happens down the road, then we can take all kinds of different plastics because somebody else with a bigger company, per se, would be sorting it. But that's off a little bit in the distance. The mayor can speak to that more. As far as the hazardous materials go, the EPA and State Environmental Management, they have really cracked down in the last decade or so on what can be dumped in landfills. For example, Gary and I have been having a heck of a trouble with just TVs of late. Used to get paid to recycle TVs. Then they are no longer allowed in landfills at all, and private recyclers said, hey, we can make money by charging people for TVs. And now they want to charge $1 a pound, which you can weigh your own TV and then imagine the entire city's TVs. That's a heck of a lot of money. Fortunately, the Lake County Solid Waste District has a bunch of long-standing contracts, and they're helping us out with that. So we'll be okay with TVs for now. So you can drop off TVs again at the recycling center. But other hazardous waste, chemicals and such, if they get into a landfill, they poison the ground long-term, not just for a few years, but maybe 100 or in some cases 1,000 years. So they have to be disposed of in a particular way, which gets more and more expensive every year. And we physically simply don't have the manpower or the money to be able to dispose of different kinds of hazardous materials, because if there's a leak, that costs a lot of money to fix. So what happens with the solid waste district is during the summer, they will go weekly to each different town or city in Lake County and our neighboring counties, and they will have what they call a hazardous waste materials day. Ours is usually the last week of April. Sometimes it'll fluctuate a little bit there, but it's in that area. But then if you miss ours, then maybe East Chicago has theirs in August, or Munster might have theirs in September, and you can hit one of those. But items like paint, light bulbs, batteries, we can take batteries anytime, but most cities you can't. Chemicals, pesticides, all that type of stuff, even bullets, if you have old bullets, they'll take those. That's the time you want to bring those in. And they'll take care of them for everybody, and it doesn't cost anybody anything. That's already taken care of, so that's what we encourage people to do. It means you have to store it for a while over the winter, but they're really good about taking almost everything.
All right, thanks. All right, follow up on that? How you doing, sir?
Yes, Mayor. I've got a question for you. The scrappers are picking up more and more every month.
Scrappers?
Yep. And I'm curious because by the time I call the police, they're long gone.
Yeah, but I think it's supposed to be in here, sir.
Well, they're all over, and they've got truck.
I mean, not good. It's good that you bring it up.
Surprising nobody sees them, the police don't see them, stop them.
Yeah, I'm surprised too.
That's what they're gonna say, I'm coming.
One of the reasons we passed a pretty severe scrapping ordinance is, I mean, some communities have exceptions, ours is harder. You're not supposed to be scrapping, it's against the law. And one of the reasons, when we passed it, one of the things we said was because it's such a clear-cut ordinance, there's no scrapping in Hammond. If an officer drives by an alley and sees a truck in there and it's not a city vehicle, it's obviously someone that's probably scrapping. So let's pass to the police chief and see what he says, and then we'll follow up.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
that's one of the problems. That the scrappers have stopped using pickup trucks, and now they're using panel vans so that we can't see trucks with loaded with scrap. So that's part of the problem. Most of our scrappers are now using vans.
These are pickups. They are pickups.
And they're using them in a van. Sir, I understand that, but most of them are now vans. So if you see either a van or a pickup truck in your alley, you have to call us.
Where are you located, sir?
2900 block, 163rd place. And it's every evening, and especially weekends. It's like they know code enforcement's not around?
Well, it's more the police department than anything, because code, if they saw it, but code has pretty much Monday through Friday job. It's the police department that enforces this.
Because I understand Hammond took it over.
Yes, sir.
But are they making money on the scrap? And
Who?
Hammond.
No, I don't believe we're making money off. Are we making money off scrap? Oh, I guess we are. Gary, you want to add something to this?
It was posted, entering all the city, there's no scrapping, but like he said, it is still going on. They're sneaking around the weekends at night, early in the morning and stuff, but we do get paid for that, yes.
One of the good things about Mayor's Night, and we do regular staff meetings with everybody also, is even though I may be in a different department and scrapping's not my responsibility, but if I'm out there, you know, and I see scrapping going on, I know who to call. I call the police chief, or, you know, even though in your opinion, and rightfully so, we've been unsuccessful so far, the fact that you bring it up here is important. It just reemphasizes to all of us that we have the right, I think that's you, Michelle. Oh, it's chief, okay. Because we, you know, it emphasizes to all of us how important this is. So I apologize, and I want you to know that's not legal what they're doing.
Would they be able to set that up? Because I noticed like on garbage pickup day, all the departments are out. Like for picking up scrap or garbage or whatever, the garbage trucks are out, the recycles out. Can't they set it up where the people in that district or whatever they do the pickup, that's the day you put out your scrap where the truck can pick it up the same day?
Well, I mean, these are the types of things we could do now that it's all in one department, sir. There's gonna be a lot of things we do different after January 1st, and Steve sort of previewed some of the ideas we're talking about with recycling, and we were trying to do everything by January 1st, recycling changes and all the district changes, but the budgetary issues and the personnel issues with combining 4 departments is so complicated. We decided, let's do one thing first, let's get this department put together on January 1st, and then we'll start tackling these more complicated issues, and I think it's a legitimate issue that you bring up, but I can tell you that these guys are breaking the law, and the Hammond Police Department, they're good, they're everywhere, so maybe we can re-emphasize to the guys, chief, that, you know, anybody in the alleys, it's not public works.
Have they had any convictions?
About that, chief? Have you had any convictions or any tickets given out for scrapping? Have you given any tickets or arrested anybody for scrapping?
Yes, sir. We give out citations for scrapping all the time. In fact, I gave out a couple of citations. The judge gives fines up to $500. It depends. If it's a first time, it's a smaller fine. If it's more than once, then it's a steeper fine.
And sir, you know, I think maybe not in your neighborhood, and I apologize if that's the case, but I think citywide, the scrapping's gone down a lot. But if we have a problem in your neighborhood, I promise we gotta get out there and fix it,
It
okay?
hasn't went down a lot, but they are still out.
Okay, and that's why it's important for you to show up to these meetings and do what you're doing, sir. We're not offended at all. In fact, I appreciate it. And it reemphasizes to all of us that this is still a problem, and we're gonna knock it out, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I remember when that ordinance passed, it was controversial. It was a tougher vote than I thought it was gonna be on the council. But I thought it was important, and, you know, I talked to the chief daily, multiple times a day. One of the things he told me in his experience as police chief, and I value his experience a lot, is, Mayor, you want to cut down on the crime rate in the city, get the people out of the alleys. Because maybe half the people that are in your alley, or maybe 85% of the people in your alley that are scrapping are good people, 15% of them aren't. And 15% are looking in your backyard wondering if you're home or not so they can get back there and steal something. And we figured, let's just get them all out of the alleys. Even, you know, it's unfortunate for the people that aren't breaking the law, but I want all these people out of the alleys. And the only ones that are in the alleys should be Public Works and you, the neighbors. That's why we did it. It was a tough issue, believe it or not, but it's something I'm proud of, and we're not gonna back off. So I promise you we'll follow this up, okay? And do me a favor, sir. I'm on the radio every Friday. I'm easy to find if you see scrappers and this is still a problem. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Please keep calling. It's not offensive. This is what we do. I can't get everywhere in the city, but when I hear the same things over and over again, that gets my attention, okay? Thank you. Any other issues on scrapping? That was a big topic about a year ago, right? So.
This question, a particular person used to work for the city and had lost his job and wanted to know how he would be able to get a job. How can he get his job back?
We take all questions at Mayor's Night. I remember when we first started Mayor's Night, people said, oh, McDermott only reads the good questions. We read every question. I don't think this is the type of question we should answer here, all right? You don't talk about personnel issues in a public meeting unless this person really wants to, and I don't think that's appropriate at all. I'm sure there's a reason, if he was terminated, I'm sure there's a solid reason for it. And if there wasn't, there is legal recourse, but I'm not gonna air dirty laundry from an employee and talk to a boss in a public meeting and ask why he got fired. It's just not appropriate. So we wanted you to know that we read every question of Mayor's Night, even ones that we don't think are appropriate. It doesn't mean we have to answer.